My name's Don.
And I'm Peter.
And we are two plebs talking about... California.
That's right, people. Good afternoon is today in the DPRC.
Right.
Not this week.
Right. This Wednesday?
This Wednesday. In case people were wondering, did the plebs get it wrong?
No.
Were they being plebs? Did they upload the wrong video on the wrong day?
Right.
No. California has just given us that much glorious news to talk about that it's blowing up to 2 days.
They really have.
So this is day one.
Exactly. You know, we've talked for months now that like this gets hard to pare down to just one day with two stories. And
it got that bad. We're like, nope, it's 2 days, 4 stories.
Oh, yeah.
You get it.
And
double dose.
It's, buddy. So, this week in the DPRC, part 1, apparently.
Yes.
We'll be back tomorrow with part 2. Anyhow,
yeah.
So, that aside.
Yes.
The state of California is notoriously pretty hippie-filled, and you know, we invented the smog check, that if you have to have a smog check wherever you live that's not California.
Yeah. We are known as the Green State.
Yeah, well, you know, something like that. Or, you know, the communist state. But either way. So, this week, the EPA put out a study of the most polluted cities in the country.
Yeah.
For, specifically, ozone in the air and air quality kind of things, right? In general.
Right.
Well, here in our extra green state with enough regulation to kill a horse...
And the fact that we will adhere to the Paris Climate Accords despite what Trump says.
Right. And...
Because we're all about keeping things clean around here.
All of those painting city streets white for the purpose of reducing global warming or something.
Right.
We have 8 of the 10 most polluted cities in the country.
But no! We're squeaky fucking clean around here. Obviously, all of our legislation tells us so. We have all these rules and regulations to keep us cleaner than everybody else. We cannot possibly.
Well, you say that, but they asked our own Clean Air Board, right?
Yeah.
How could this possibly be true? You have the heaviest regulations to clean the air in the entire world. To which they said, well, the answer is, and I'm not making this up, the answer is, it would be worse if we didn't have all those regulations. So apparently we would have, 11 of the top 10 dirtiest cities.
Right.
Why
don't you just expand that bitch to the top 25 and we claim them all?
Right. How many cities are there in California? We have that many of the top,
right.
most polluted cities. I guess. Now, this doesn't in any way address the actual question that was asked, which is to say, with all of this, how could this still be true? Right?
Right.
And look, don't get me wrong. Somebody somewhere is going to be like, I was in Los Angeles in the 70s. You couldn't see 500 feet on a bad day, blah, blah, which isn't true. But I will grant that LA has a lot less air pollution than it did 50 years ago.
Right. On
the other hand, if these regulations had the impact that we were told that they have, shouldn't all of those, oil towns and everywhere that has a coal plant and, I don't know, basically everywhere,
right,
have some ranking here? I mean, 2 out of 10, and one of them's New York City. Yeah, that's what it takes to compete with Bakersfield. Because reasons.
All right.
Well, now, okay. To be fair to poor little California, with all of their horribly dirty air, there is a thing called an inversion layer in Southern California that causes all of the smog that comes in off the ocean to just kind of stop at the bottom of the Sierra Nevada mountain range.
Yeah.
Just hangs out there, which seems like a hell of a problem.
Yeah.
And I get it, there's only so much we can do because of this. if that's the case, why are we regulating everything to death? And shouldn't we just go back to exactly what we were talking about, 2 or 3 months ago now? Just put air scrubbers on the top of all the skyscrapers in Los Angeles. This should take care of itself.
Right.
Because there's an inversion layer, which is going to continually wash that air through those things. But if we did that...
That would be solving the problem.
And we wouldn't just be regulating everything to death.
Right.
And by the way, while this would not clear up, for example, Bakersfield, which does in fact have the same inversion layer problem, it would actually do something in general.
Right.
And pretty clearly, despite that we really do have the toughest air regulations in the world, it's not doing that much.
Apparently not.
Like, you got to go to LA to compete with our mid-sized town.
Right.
Or not LA, New York.
New York.
I know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
the city of New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To compete with, what's Bakersfield? Like
anywhere in
a
California.
million people?
Right.
Right? Which is like, 6 blocks of New York City?
Something like that. Probably a little bit larger than that, but still, I know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Regardless, New York City, Bakersfield. You want to, I don't know. But no less, by the way, subsequently in this article was like, this is why we need to do more. And I was like, oh, God. What? I mean, come on. We already subsidize electric cars and solar panels and for your house. And
how about those, solar-powered automated flying machines with scrubbers on them that just fly around?
Well,
we have those, don't we? I mean, some people have them out there. Why don't we put a fucking fleet of those out?
Well, so you would think that might almost make sense, right?
Right.
You get them right up there in the layer of air that is just moving in kind of a circle.
Right.
And you just get them to sit there, right?
Right. And
then drop down and replace it.
Filters.
You could literally just use an air filter for a car.
Right.
It would pull shit out of the air. Don't get me wrong, not a lot, but still, it would actually do something.
Right.
Well, no. And the answer is, of course, reasons. But to give you an idea of how much we in California don't like this kind of shit, when we cared about oil spills, ever,
right,
somebody effectively made one of these for the ocean.
Right.
And as I recall, it was a little solar-powered boat, and all it would do is it had 2 tracks like this, and a little scoop to push things into it, and it would run a positive charge against whatever it was, picking up, and then there were a bunch of negative side magnets, negative pole magnets facing the water. So as it would go, and it was solar powered. It was just one giant solar panel. And so it would go along and it would charge all the oil and then it would pick it up because there's lots of metallic shit in oil, apparently enough to get this done.
Right.
And the things cost something like 10 grand or something like that.
Okay.
And the reality was you could just you could airdrop them into the middle of an oil spill and they'd clean up a couple of miles in a few hours.
Okay.
I cannot see a downside to this.
Right.
And yet, we said that will not be an approved method of cleaning up oil spills. Stop trying.
Why not? It doesn't create pollution while cleaning up pollution. Solar powered, doesn't require exuberant amount of man hours, and you just have 3 or 4 things sitting there waiting for an oil spill.
And they require effectively no maintenance? I don't know. I got nothing here.
I mean, what's wrong with this?
Don't know. But both California, state of, and the feds told the guys that made it, stop trying. So the idea that we're actually going to do something productive as opposed to just regulate your ass to death. Because, by the way, this happened when the 2 oil tankers crashed in the middle of the ocean last year or the year before. Right? And so what do? They put boatloads of regulations on oil tankers and said that thing that would actually fix the problem if one occurs, we're not doing that. Yeah, no, it is exactly what it sounds like.
It seems to be that their answer to the problem is regulated out to the point that it's not a problem.
Well,
don't make a need for those boats to sit there and do nothing.
And yet,
in case something happens,
here we are again. Well, if we just had a little bit more regulation, then this clean air problem would go away. right?
Right.
Again, and, it's been almost 60 years now that we've been, piling on regulation after regulation about what it is that you can do with
anything,
things that you make, things that you own. Half the cities in this state have a requirement to contact the county to see if you can light the fireplace in your house.
Yep.
So, all those things are working out well, right?
Obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
So, once again, as much as I make flippant jokes about, just put giant air filters on the top of skyscrapers in Los Angeles, we'd probably be a lot better off. Truth be told, I think at this point we might.
Something. If there's an inversion layer which is making all of the pollution, A, stay here, and B, rotate around, yeah, put something in the path of the rotation to scoop the shit out.
Look, I have no idea the viability of this, but comparatively speaking,
Well, obviously, regulating it out of existence isn't working. It's time to go on to something else.
You say that, but...
preventative is not working. Active needs to come in.
Well, so you say that, but again, this is where I get really cynical about this, right?
Right.
Because there's no way that you could... Even if we mandated that every single everything above 3 stories in this state, put some sort of air scrubbing filter on top of the building, every single one, it would be a smaller burden to the economy than what we have done for regulating for clean air.
Right.
And it would probably be more functional.
Probably. But
yet,
it addresses the problem that's here. And through regulation, they're trying to make it not a problem here at all.
So, how's that working?
Not good. Start addressing the problem that's here. We don't want to look like China where we have to fucking air dome out our playgrounds for our kids to be able to play outside.
Well,
and at that point in time, they're not playing outside.
This is where I get real cynical about this, because there's no control provided in what I just said, is there?
No.
There's just, go put these giant filters up, it will clear out the air.
Right. It doesn't create an apparatus for them to extract more money out of businesses.
And that the possibility that it's functional means that there's not more road to go down, more regulations to write.
It is solving the problem.
Yeah.
Because saying, well, no, you have to meet regulations, which means you have to get inspectors. The inspectors cost money. Being a certified inspector, the person who wishes to be an inspector has to give the state money to be licensed.
Yeah.
And therefore, you now have to pay the inspector who's going to want to make a larger profit because he had to pay to be an inspector.
Yeah.
So basically, it doesn't generate economy as a solution.
You say that, but it does. You still got to build all the shit, right?
Well, yeah, you have to build the shit, and then you have to keep replacement filters of some sort going in.
Yeah.
And then you have to have waste removal because it's pulling shit out of the air. It's pulling solids out of the air.
Sure.
So, but it's not as much.
It would be, right? Because now somebody's got to make all these filters. Somebody's actually got to go change them or clean them or whatever is going to be necessary. All of the same, it creates things apply. However, the economic impact will be smaller and control given to the government would be less.
Yeah.
So, look, I'm running... I know I'm assuming intent here, which I absolutely hate doing. But I'm running out of options, right?
Right. It's basically, we already have all the regulation out there to try to stop this from happening, but we have a natural, non-controllable issue making it a thing happening.
Mm-hmm.
We have to take different measures to take care of it. At that point, what they say, just keep all the fucking regulation and throw on the scrubbers. You're just adding to the apparatus at that point in time.
Right. But, again, you might have some reasonable possibility of solving the issue, and all the regulations very clearly don't.
Right.
And do suggest more regulation. So, forgive me when I start getting a little ANCAP. It's not about, it's not about guns, it's about control, right?
Right.
But really, what other choice is there? because actually just how fuel enters your engine is more regulated because of all this clean air shit than nearly anything that might even remotely come close to solving this problem, right?
Right.
And yet, it's not solving the problem, right?
Right.
So, I don't know. It seems to be about control.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Actually, in the vein of an earlier point there, economic growth, as it were, and because we like to just complain about things and then, bitch that somebody else needs to solve the problem for us, California has again begun bitching about Trump's tax plan.
Oh, yeah.
Because next year, supposedly,
Yes.
1 million Americans will owe 12 billion more, or Californians, will owe 12 billion more in taxes, which, by the way, means that, on average, they're paying 12 million more, 12,000 more a person or something like that?
Something.
And this is all because Trump is Hitler and this tax plan is the worst thing that's ever happened.
Yes.
Well, even when you go through their own summation of this is the same people that Bernie Sanders has, and make no mistake, California is on the Bernie Sanders economic train.
Yeah.
But these are the same people that, according to people like Bernie Sanders, deserve to be taxed heavily. And by the way...
Because they have money.
California agrees because the only argument here is, well, you're in these really high tax brackets and now the feds aren't going to subsidize that anymore. Right. So California already enacted the if you make a lot of money, fuck you policy.
Yeah.
And now they're just mad...
Because the federal government removed the butt cushion.
Uh-huh.
It's like, no. Now you get to feel California spanking you at full force.
Mm-hmm. Still not full force, by the way. You still get to deduct some.
Right.
So,
just not as much.
Right.
They lessened the cushion on your butt from California spanking you.
And so...
So why is it the federal government's fault?
Well...
Because it's California taxing us.
Right. Well, so you got to understand that if you're rich in California, everyone in the whole country needs to subsidize you.
But no.
No. But that is clearly what they're saying. Well, we in California want this money, the state.
Right.
And so we're going to take it from the rich people. But if we do that too much, the rich people are going to leave. So
the federal government...
rural Texas subsidize my millionaire.
Right.
And somehow or another, that is not California subsidizing the rich or demanding that the rest of the country does.
Right.
And the tax plan is subsidizing the rich by letting them keep their money.
Right.
And we're not...
Instead of making the rest of the country pay to let them keep their money.
Right. Seriously. This isn't a joke, man. I'm not exaggerating at all.
I know you're not exaggerating.
I know it sounds like a joke because no one's that stupid, are they?
Yeah, yes, California's that stupid. Federal government, give the rich people back their money that we're taking from them. You have to give it back to them from us taking it.
Right.
So that they will stay here.
Yeah.
And continue to give us more money.
By the way, all of a sudden, California has figured out heavy taxation incentivizes people to leave the state.
Oh, yeah, all of a sudden they figured it out.
As soon as the feds stop subsidizing California's heavy taxation.
So I take it means U-Haul is now charging quadruple for trucks to leave as opposed to triple?
Well, probably no, because the people who are heavily incentivized to leave and will have the means to probably ain't using U-Hauls. They're using moving companies, right?
Probably.
Because we're talking about people who are making more than $1 million a year.
Okay, then yeah.
So
they're going bring a fucking semi-truck. It doesn't need to be U-Haul.
Right.
Your company, move my shit. They're using the pods.
Mm-hmm. And, don't get me wrong. The price of U-Hauls leaving California will probably go up again because this goes all the way down to about people with $100,000 a year, depending on circumstance, right?
Right.
That there's some negative impact for their actual wallet, right?
Right.
And so the argument is continuously, well, you raise taxes on I don't want to say the poor, because that means that all the people I've been arguing were the 1% are now the poor.
Yep.
But, no less, you raise taxes, Donald Trump, because you won't have the entire country subsidize our shit tax plan. God damn it, you asshole.
Yes.
And look,
it's criminal. It's evil action to not pay the California taxes
and look,
by the rest of the country.
When this first happened, people as big as Philip DeFranco said stupid shit like, well, it felt like Californians were shouldering the majority of the burden. Then go to your state legislature and go, stop taxing me so fucking much.
Right.
But no, Trump needs to let California tax the dog shit out of Californians and then pay back Californians for their shitty policy.
From money from the rest of the country. No.
But understand that we are not a giant entitled douchebag fuckface state. The problem is Trump is evil.
Yes, Trump's evil.
Because
it couldn't be the fact that we're just trying to bleed our populace dry. The problem is that you're taking away the suture to the wound that we have created.
Yeah. But, no less, every left-wing media outlet, and this is why I've said for a long time that Phil is left-wing, went, well, but like, it's hurting California, man.
Yes, California's hurting California. The government's not putting a Band-Aid on it anymore.
And that's the end of our show for the day.
That's right. It's taco time.
However, before we go, we'd appreciate it if you shared us around.
You can find us on YouTube,
BitChute,
Facebook,
Twitter,
Patreon,
and Maker Support.
Thanks for stopping by.